Hello, everyone. Good day and welcome to this webinar about the DRA3, the Developmental Reading Assessment. My name is Tina Eichstedt. I am the Senior Product Manager for the DRA3, and I want to welcome you all to this webinar viewing and recording today. I am so pleased to welcome our two authors of the DRA3, Joetta Beaver and Mark Carter, who will be leading us in this webinar today. So Joetta and Mark, I turn it over to you, and I can't wait to listen.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you. We are so happy that you've decided to join us today as we share our thinking and rationale for the various aspects of the DRA3. We want you to know we're going to be reading our text because we want to be concise. We want to be focused and finish in a timely manner. So we will now hide ourselves, and we're just encouraged that you have joined us.
Thanks for being here. This webinar has been designed as a master teacher class explaining the Developmental Reading Assessment 3rd edition. This webinar will be recorded and posted at Pearson Assessments. Of course, some details may not pertain to the grade level you teach. Please bear with the process. From our perspective, it is so interesting and valuable to see how student reading achievement changes over time. The DRA was first published in 1996 as a curriculum-based reading assessment for grades K-8 that provides important information not always available from a group or computer-based test.
In this webinar, we will highlight the importance of using an individualized assessment to support teachers' deeper understanding of each student's reading behaviors and instructional needs. We will begin by sharing the reasons we believe the DRA3 benchmark assessment is a trusted assessment, then discuss the rationale for each critical reading skill assessed in fluency and comprehension. We will also present the unique features of the assessment books and how they change over time to support students in the various stages of reading development. And we will explain the value of finding each student's independent reading level and how this assessment leads to instruction. Finally, we will share the value and features of the DRA3 word analysis and progress monitoring assessments. We hope the information we share not only helps you understand the foundations of DRA3, but also helps you to see how this assessment enables you to become better observers and teachers of reading.
There are certain beliefs that guided the development of the DRA3. We believe teachers are professionals, and the DRA3 helps teachers to better understand the reading process.
Enables teachers to assess critical reading skills.
Document student progress when given over time.
Provides teachers with specific direction for instruction.
And we believe that it provides teachers with detailed information to share with parents and other stakeholders. The DRA3 has always been rooted in the belief that teachers are professionals and capable of making informed instructional decisions for their students when given time, appropriate teacher education, and adequate resources. We believe that giving teachers tools like the DRA3 helps teachers to better understand the reading process and their students' strengths and needs as a reader at a deeper, broader, more complete level. The information teachers get from observing a student so closely as the DRA3 requires helps teachers to make precise plans and provide follow-up instruction that enhances each student's learning. When teachers give timely, specific instruction to students, that creates an optimal learning experience.
The DRA3 is a curriculum-based assessment that utilizes systematic observation guides, leveled text, and scoring continuums. DRA3 assessments provide teachers and schools with in-depth information about each student's decoding and word reading skills,
their reading fluency, including phrasing, expression, accuracy, and rate,
comprehension, including vocabulary, retelling, written summary, interpretation, literal comprehension, and metacognitive awareness,
independent reading level on fiction and nonfiction texts,
and their attitude and interest in reading across genres independently. When it comes to assessment, we know that best practice is to use more than one assessment when evaluating a child. In today's classrooms, multiple assessments are required by the state or district to determine a student's level of specific reading skills. Given the increased education discussions about teaching and assessing reading, having a one-on-one conference that facilitates reliable documentation of the student's reading process from all angles makes the DRA3 a rich and evidence-based tool for supporting reading growth. The DRA3 is an important part of a robust school district assessment plan.
The DRA3 is a trusted assessment. The DRA3 has been carefully revised based on input from classroom teachers, our own research on how students performed on DRA tasks over time and across levels, and on current reading research. As a result of this process, the DRA3 is a valid, reliable, fair, and transparent assessment.
The DRA3 is a valid reading assessment because it assesses critical reading skills and provides a consistent guide for scoring. The DRA3 measures student performance using specific descriptors on continuum for fluency and comprehension. The descriptors on the continuum are clear and accurate. Each skill is assessed by utilizing accepted practices such as listening to students read aloud and recording reading accuracy, listening to students' retellings, and having students write summaries and answer specific comprehension questions.
An assessment is reliable when there are similar results within and across levels. The procedures are consistent, and there is a high degree of consistency between scorers. The DRA3 is reliable when it is administered and scored as directed. Furthermore, teachers that have had opportunities to practice scoring with colleagues have higher inter-rater reliability. Training in DRA3 procedures and practicing scoring student fluency and comprehension is important. These practice sessions give teachers a chance to hear colleagues' rationale for scores and help teachers normalize their own scoring to a consistent standard.
Reliability is ensured when directions are followed. DRA3 teacher observation guides provide specific directions and prompts for teachers to use each time they assess a student's reading performance with a selected book. On each level of the DRA3, students are asked to respond to the same types of questions and tasks. Teachers evaluate student performance using the same continuum descriptors.
The DRA3 is a fair assessment. All students complete the same tasks, either independently or with the same amount of support within their stage of development. Each student is assessed to find their own independent reading level. Fairness is built into the assessment process by having prompts in the teacher observation guide and student booklet that scaffold students during the assessment appropriate for their stage of reading development. For example, at level 8, all readers are asked to give a retelling of what they have read. Teachers may use specific prompts like, "Who else is in the story?" to scaffold the student's retelling if important details are omitted. The number of prompts is factored into the overall retelling score.
At level 30, students are just beginning to write summaries, so the summary page in the student booklet includes phrases to guide their responses. Phrases like host city and famous Olympians help students structure their summary of the Olympic Games, a nonfiction text. By the time students reach level 40, they are expected to organize and write their own summary.
An assessment is transparent when teachers and students know what they are expected to do and how to complete the tasks successfully. The DRA3 is transparent when students have been prepared for the various tasks they are asked to do during the assessment and directions are followed by teachers and students. The assessment directions and prompts provide information that helps all students perform to the best of their ability.
To ensure transparency, prepare students for the assessment by sharing with them what they will be asked to do. If students are unfamiliar with what is expected during the assessment, instruct, model, and give time for students to practice skills such as retelling, writing a summary, and/or responding to different types of questions. Here are 3 examples of the instructional black-line masters that are provided in the teacher guide for students to practice specific tasks prior to the assessment. Of course, they can also be used after the assessment with students who performed below the independent level.
Yes, we highly recommend that teachers prepare students for the assessment so they understand what they must do and are also aware of the level of performance that is required to be successful. There are no surprises for students or teachers. Over time, students become more familiar with the DRA3 assessment process. This increases their comfort level, reduces anxiety, and improves their reading performance on this assessment and as a reader. The DRA3 is an individualized assessment. It provides the teacher with an in-depth perspective of each reader. We believe that having teachers read with and observe each student is truly valuable and well worth the time. This gives the teacher and the student time to develop trust in each other. It develops a personal memory for the teacher. A one-on-one conference lets the teacher hear each student read aloud. It provides the teacher with an opportunity to show care and interest. As a result, the student feels seen, heard, and valued.
The individual conference also reveals a student's true abilities at the time and may actually challenge and change a teacher's prior assumption about that student as a reader. The individual contact enhances student engagement. It reinforces that what they're doing, reading, is important enough to have the teacher's undivided attention. As students age, more independent activities are appropriately expected from the student, but there is still, at each level, some teacher-student direct interaction. Each area assessed on the DRA3 has been included because of the historical and present-day research that supports these areas as critical in a student's development as a reader. The reading skills and behaviors assessed are confirmed by the National Reading Panel and represented in the Reading Rope in the Science of Reading Defining Guide. They also align with the Simple View of Reading and with Common Core. By administering the DRA3, teachers become experts at observing reading skills that matter.
The number one goal of any reading program is to help students become proficient, enthusiastic readers who read for a variety of purposes. The DRA3 helps teachers achieve this goal for students in primary grades through middle school. The DRA3 is based on what good readers do and scaffolds students as they move through the various stages of learning to read. Over 30 years ago, we started observing what good readers do. Good readers enjoy reading and read a variety of texts.
They have favorite books and authors and genres.
Good readers read with a high rate of accuracy.
They read fluently with appropriate phrasing and expression.
They comprehend what they read by using a variety of comprehension strategies.
They recall details to respond to questions, retell, and/or write a summary.
And good readers discuss what strategies they use to better understand what they are reading.
We want all readers to be good readers. By building an assessment around the skills good readers employ, the DRA3 helps teachers know what each student assessed controls and what each one needs to learn next to become a good reader in his or her stage of development. This assessment reinforces positive reading behaviors for students.
The DRA3 teacher observation guides include text introductions, prompts, record of oral reading, and carefully guided comprehension activities and questions. The teacher observation guides enable teachers to systematically observe, record, and determine each student's strengths and needs in aspects of fluency and comprehension over time. During the oral reading, everything a student reads aloud is recorded by the teacher and later analyzed to identify any problems the student had decoding words. Teachers also note students' use of context to help problem solve an unknown word. This information tells the teacher the student is getting the gist of the reading. All errors are marked and counted as an inaccurate attempt at decoding the actual word. Teachers at all levels analyze students' oral reading errors to see if they are using expected decoding skills. If not, this becomes the focus for follow-up instruction. By utilizing the observation guides, teachers can observe, analyze, and record how students respond to fiction and nonfiction texts on a continuum, so teachers have immediate results.
The DRA3 continuums consist of descriptors which describe a student's performance assessed across 4 levels: intervention, instructional, independent, and advanced. Teachers circle a descriptor that best reflects the student's performance for each skill assessed. The descriptors on the continuums clearly and concisely describe the 4 levels of performance.
The independent level descriptors reflect what good readers know and do within their developmental stage of learning to read. They also reflect widely accepted state and district grade level expectations for students at grade level. The instructional level descriptors reflect some control of the skill. These students still require direct instruction in the area assessed and time to practice. The intervention level descriptors depict little to no control of the skill, and these students most likely require further evaluation. The advanced level descriptors reflect highly capable reading behaviors and skills for this level text.
When compared with previous DRA results, this information provides teachers and schools an accurate record of how each student develops as a reader within and across years. Documenting student progress over time confirms that students are meeting state and district standards. It also helps teachers analyze their own reading programs. This documentation also provides teachers with specific talking points when discussing student strengths and instructional needs with parents during conferences. They can share the student's independent reading level, reading rate, and details about how the student did on comprehension tasks. This helps parents feel informed and reassured that the teacher understands their child's instructional need.
During the DRA3 benchmark assessment, the teacher observation guide directs teachers to systematically observe reading fluency. Starting at level 4, students who are just learning to decode words and monitor their reading, the parts of fluency assessed are phrasing, monitoring and self-corrections, problem solving, unknown words, and accuracy. The student's reading is timed beginning at level 14. Prior to level 14, student reading rate is not assessed. Students at early levels need more time to problem solve unknown words and monitor and self-correct errors. Starting at level 14 and above, phrasing, expression, accuracy, and rate are evaluated during the assessment.
Students who read in longer, meaningful phrases demonstrate an understanding of how the author intended the text to sound. The control of phrasing and expression helps the reader understand the meaning or the information in the text. Appropriate phrasing and expression work together to convey emotion and attitude. Reading words accurately is necessary to understand the meaning of a text. As students read aloud to the teacher during the DRA3, teachers listen, observe, and record the students' errors. This record of oral reading provides the teacher with a window into each student's ability to use decoding skills. As teachers analyze each student's reading, they see exactly what each student does and does not apply from classroom instruction.
Even though reading rate is not by itself an indicator of comprehension, it is an important aspect of effective reading. As students become more accurate readers, reading rate increases, and so does a student's automaticity in word recognition. This allows students to use more of their attention to focus on comprehending. Students are never expected to race through texts. That is not what fluent reading is about. Students adjust rate as needed for effect or to better understand what they are reading. Rate works in conjunction with phrasing, expression, and accuracy for reading to be effective and meaningful to the student. Fluent reading facilitates a more satisfying reading experience for the reader.
As students age, the amount of reading expected of them increases. At the same time, texts become more difficult in each field of study. By the time students reach 4th and 5th grade, they are expected to read literature, math texts, social studies texts, and science material increasingly independently. Many teachers also expect students to do some independent research online. When students' reading rate are in an instructional range in upper elementary and middle school, we have observed firsthand that they find themselves overwhelmed by the amount of reading required. Monitoring students' reading rates and providing timely instruction increases their chances of success as readers in and out of school.
The second part of the DRA3 systematically guides teachers to observe, evaluate, and analyze each student's understanding of the text read during the assessment. The DRA3 gives teachers an in-depth perspective of each of the following areas of comprehension: previewing and prediction, retelling or written summary, vocabulary, literal comprehension,
Making connections, interpretation, reflection, and metacognitive awareness. The comprehension tasks for these areas vary depending upon the student's stage of reading development. Teachers' analysis of students' responses provides timely direction for follow-up instruction. There is a rationale for each of these comprehension areas.
Previewing and making predictions is one part of the comprehension section. The readers' previewing and predictions form a purpose for reading and a basis for monitoring their own comprehension. Previewing a book makes reading easier. Information gathered from the preview engages prior knowledge and enables readers to predict what might happen or what they might learn. In the kindergarten and first grade level texts, students preview the book before reading to set expectations. Teachers at these levels guide the students thinking about the text as they preview the book. Beginning with second grade texts, after the oral reading is completed with the teacher, students are asked to make predictions about what will happen next or what they expect to learn. Having students think about the text like this helps students stay engaged in the reading and builds a framework for comprehending the rest of the text.
Constructing meaning before, during, and after reading a text is what good readers do. Learning to effectively retell or summarize the important information from a story or nonfiction text supports the essential process of connecting and synthesizing key information. To be successful on the DRA3 in a nonfiction text, readers need to recognize and use key concepts, facts, and vocabulary. In a fiction text, they need to include the main characters, important events, and supporting details in their retelling or summary. The DRA3 includes retelling and summarizing because reading research confirms that these comprehension strategies have a substantial positive effect on students' understanding of texts read.
The directions and scaffolding provided during the DRA3 for retelling and summary writing support and reinforce good reading comprehension habits appropriate at each developmental stage. Starting at DRA3 level 4, students are asked to retell what they have read. Teachers say, start at the beginning and tell me what happened in the story. Teachers may use specific prompts to scaffold these readers' retellings. Students learn how to become effective in retelling from teacher modeling, guided practice, and direct instruction. Starting at level 28, students complete a written summary. At the second and third grade levels, the summary writing is scaffolded by providing key phrases to assist in completing their summary. At the intermediate and middle school levels, students write a summary of the selected story or nonfiction text with no prompts. Students may use the book to help them write their summary.
At level 60, intermediate and middle schoolers are directed to take notes on a graphic organizer while reading. These notes may be used to help write their summary. Note-taking while reading significantly increases students' comprehension of the more complex and longer texts that middle school students are required to read. The DRA3 reinforces this practice. These notes assist the student in completing their summary and follow-up comprehension questions like interpretation.
A written summary thoroughly demonstrates students' understanding of a text and requires students to utilize a variety of skills. They must comprehend what they have read,
Determine the important information to include in their summary,
synthesize this information.
include information from the beginning, middle, and end of the book,
They have to use critical vocabulary effectively,
and write the summary in their own words, not copying directly from the text. To meet state and national standards, students in 2nd through 8th grades are expected to write summaries of what they've read. Research states that after reading strategies like retelling and summarizing should be systematically and explicitly taught because they increase students' ability to understand what they have read.
As an intermediate teacher of language arts, I took the weeks prior to DRA assessments to model, teach, and support summary writing. I discussed the key components of summaries and showed students examples of effective summaries. Students read short passages and verbally gave retellings to peers. Likewise, students wrote brief summaries and revised their summaries with a trusted partner. After the assessment, teachers can provide instruction for students that have shown that they are not capable of writing a summary at the independent level.
Literal comprehension is the ability to recall, locate, and use specific information stated in a text. Literal comprehension is the foundation for gaining deeper understanding from reading. Students can use little information to support their opinion and justify their responses. State and district curriculums require students to show mastery of literal comprehension at each grade level. Literal comprehension is assessed starting at DRA3 level 4. During this assessment, students must recall names of the characters and some important details during a scaffolded retelling. At the end of second grade, students are asked to write their answers to literal questions, requiring them to locate and record important details. At level 60, as we've shared before, middle schoolers use a graphic organizer to fill in their literal information.
Interpretation is the ability to go beyond the literal meaning of a text. It enables readers to gain a deeper understanding of what is implied by the author. The interpretation question reveals a student's understanding of key inferences and connections. Interpretation requires the student to understand the information first at a literal level, and then students must access their own knowledge of the world, reading experiences, and relationships to think about and decide what is implied by the author. Interpretation is an essential component of comprehension. Students who can arrive at an understanding of the text implications and support their conclusions with facts and details show that they get the author's intended purpose.
Reflection enables students to use criteria to make judgments about what they're reading. Readers use prior knowledge and their understanding of the text to determine importance and evaluate what they've read. Students' ability to select and use criteria when making judgments are important skills in critical reading and thinking. The reflection portion of the assessment gives the student an opportunity to form their own thoughts about the text. Ultimately, as teachers, we want students to understand how they think and feel about the information they are reading. Just because the author of a given text shares her own stance or beliefs doesn't mean that everyone may come to the same conclusions or even agree. This section requires the student to form their own opinion and support it with specific reasons. Reflection lays the foundation and expectations that students become thoughtful consumers of the materials they read.
The last section assessed in the comprehension section is metacognitive awareness. Metacognition is, put simply, thinking about one's thinking. Metacognitive awareness refers to the processes used to plan, monitor, and assess one's understanding and performance. In many sections of the DRA3, students must utilize metacognitive skills. When students make predictions, ask questions, or even write a summary in their own words, they must have a process for understanding the text. Metacognitive strategies, like thinking about the reasons why things happen or determining what is important, help students understand their own thinking processes. Starting at level 40, intermediate readers are asked to check a strategy and give specific examples of how they use that strategy to help them understand while reading.
When students think about the strategies they use to understand a text, it helps them become more proficient at using these strategies. Comprehension improves and learning from text increases as students understand and use metacognitive strategies. More and more studies are suggesting that students who are explicitly taught to use metacognitive strategies early on are more resilient and more successful as readers both in and out of school. Like other comprehension skills, Teachers should model and teach metacognitive strategies in class prior to the assessment.
Being able to successfully complete the comprehension section of the DRA3 at the designated independent level for each grade is an appropriate goal for students. When students can accomplish these reading tasks in comprehension and fluency, teachers can be sure that their students not only can read and understand the text level assessed, but they also can communicate their understandings effectively. Teachers can also be sure that these students are meeting the district and state curricular goals for these important comprehension skills and for reading text on grade level. This is quite an accomplishment for students.
DRA3 provides suggestions for teachers to model, teach, and support skills in oral reading fluency and comprehension. There is a focus for instruction included in each teacher guide based on the same categories on the continuum. After analyzing each student's performance, teachers can use the instructional suggestions on the focus for instruction to group and plan instruction for those students who perform below an independent level. There is no wait time. Teachers immediately have the information needed to help students learn and practice skills in their areas of instructional need.
The DRA3 provides leveled fiction and nonfiction books at each grade level to give teachers opportunities to observe how students read and respond to both genres. The illustrations and topics have been designed to be appealing to students. The DRA3 books have been meticulously developed and revised. The reading grade level of each DRA3 books has been confirmed by longitudinal data and feedback from DRA users, original field test results, and by the consistent use of Frye readability formula in each edition.
The books progress in order of difficulty, but are same within a level.
Topics and stories are engaging and appropriate for each grade level. There are no reliability formulas that factor in all the various features that students encounter in text. Qualitative features like font size, illustrations, student background knowledge, graphics, and concept load are all affecting readability. When we developed DRA3 text, we diligently considered not only the qualitative features, but also the quantitative features. First, text authors chose interesting storylines or information that engage students and are likely aligned with each age group's background knowledge. Vocabulary was carefully chosen to be at an appropriate level of difficulty for each grade level. We and the editors reviewed each book and revised vocabulary, content load, and text features like size of font to assure each text matched the other text at the designated level read.
Second, texts were leveled based on time-tested, consistent quantitative measures. Quantitative measures ensure texts are leveled accurately when compared to each other. Each time the DRA was revised, the level of every text was checked using the Frye readability formula to ensure that the text level difficulty was within the specified grade level and consistent with prior editions of the DRA. For example, this process ensured that the level 16 books are comparable and are easier than the level 18 books. To reduce text level variability even further, each DRA3 text has been grade leveled on each 100 words that appear in the text, not just on several random samplings of 100 words.
District, state, and national curriculum guides require students to be reading on grade level at the end of the school year. DRA3 books are grade leveled based on consistent standards, are developmentally appropriate, and are highly decodable based on students having command of grade level sight words and phonics recommended in scope and sequence grade level guides.
DRA3 books become more challenging and complex at each level in the following areas: specific vocabulary,
Decodable and high-frequency words,
story elements, plot, setting, theme, characters, point of view,
nonfiction text structures and features,
length of text, and size of font. DRA3 books start in kindergarten with simple lines of text that reinforce concepts of print and increasingly become longer and more complex with each successive grade level. The text appropriately support and challenge students at each developmental level. As students progress through the text levels, they gain the skills and behaviors necessary to be successful readers. By the end of 8th grade, students who perform at the independent level are able to read longer and more complex texts and have the necessary skills for future success.
DRA3 books have been meticulously developed to engage and support readers at each of the 6 stages of reading development. Emerging, which is kindergarten level, books A through 3.
Early readers in 1st grade, book levels 4 through 12.
Transitional readers towards the end of 1st grade and the beginning of 2nd grade, book levels 14 through 24.
Extending readers, the end of 2nd grade and through 3rd grade, levels 28 through 38.
And intermediate readers, 4th and 5th graders, book levels 40s and 50s.
Middle school readers, 6th, 7th, and 8th grades, book levels 60, 70, and 80.
An important aspect of DRA3 is that it helps teachers identify and understand the skills and behaviors that students control and are learning in each of the developmental stages.
For example, beginning at level 14, teachers time students' oral reading. At level 18, teachers ask students to make predictions after reading a beginning portion of the book. Starting at level 28, readers respond in writing to prompts and questions within a student booklet. Emergent readers in kindergarten and 1st grade are just beginning their journey in learning to read. They are learning to move consistently left to right on 1 to 3 lines of text,
to match spoken words with each written word,
use their knowledge of letter-sound relationships to sound out words,
and to preview a text to access background knowledge and vocabulary.
In the emerging level books A1 and 2, illustrations and photos of very common objects help students recognize words that are not easily decodable. Other words in the text are either decodable or early sight words. The simple stories or informational texts contain repeated words or sentence patterns with natural and predictable language structures. Early readers in kindergarten and 1st grade control basic concepts of print and phonological awareness. They are learning to use letter-sound relationships to decode words and self-correct miscues in context.
They're learning to use illustrations and photographs to access background knowledge while previewing a text.
Read in short phrases and dialogue with some expression.
And they're learning to retell with support.
The stories and topics in levels 4 through 12 are about children with familiar problems and interests. These books consist of 1 to 6 lines of print located at the bottom of the page. The illustrations provide moderate support about the setting and sequence of events in the stories, and photos provide examples of the objects and actions in the nonfiction books. A graphic organizer providing a visual map of information is also included at the end of each nonfiction book to assist with a student's retelling.
Transitional readers in 1st and 2nd grade are making significant progress in their ability to read. For example, they use phonetic knowledge to problem solve words.
They make predictions based on prior knowledge, the book title, and their preview of the book.
They are learning to identify important ideas, details, and vocabulary to include in a retelling.
To use text features such as headings and the table of contents in nonfiction books.
They are beginning to access information presented graphically.
Identify the most important event or information and tell why.
And to support their opinions with examples from the text or personal experience. In the books leveled from 14 to 24, the content begins to move beyond students' personal experiences and include basic descriptions of characters and settings. The stories have child characters with relatable problems or are about animals with human characteristics. The nonfiction texts beginning at level 18 include a table of contents, section headings, a glossary, and incorporate more information. The illustrations and photos provide moderate to minimum support.
Extending readers in 2nd and 3rd grade are progressing in the skills they control. They decode words by breaking words apart into syllables, common prefixes, suffixes, and letter sequences.
They make predictions based on the book introductions and the beginning paragraphs read aloud.
They are growing in their ability to read with appropriate phrasing, expression, and rate.
And they're learning to write a scaffolded summary,
to respond to literal interpretation and reflection questions in writing,
and to use information from the book and personal experiences to support their answers.
The books leveled 28 to 38 continue to increase in length and have less and less picture support. They incorporate more challenging sentence structures and vocabulary. The nonfiction books present basic information in timelines, graphs, maps, and charts. Like other books, these students will encounter in content area reading. These level books include realistic fiction as well as biographies. Settings, characters, problems, and resolutions are described in more detail.
Intermediate readers in 4th and 5th grade are reading longer and more detailed fiction and nonfiction texts. They decode multisyllabic words with common prefixes and suffixes with a high degree of automaticity.
They have longer reading stamina.
They read grade-appropriate material with a high degree of accuracy.
They enjoy reading a text with lively expression.
They're growing in their ability to write an effective summary,
to identify ideas, details, and vocabulary to respond to questions,
to make inferences and understand metacognitive strategies,
to locate necessary information and understand meaning from charts, graphs, and bold text.
Intermediate level books have likable, diverse characters dealing with personal single problems. The fiction stories include predictable development of story elements, including plots, characters, settings, and story resolutions. The nonfiction texts include relevant grade level appropriate topics. They also include nonfiction text structures like description, sequence and order, and cause-effect. These informational and visual supports scaffold the reader's existing background knowledge to learn new information and novel vocabulary. Students at the independent level in middle school are well on their way to being very competent readers. They read longer, more complex stories and nonfiction texts.
Use a variety of nonfiction text features effectively.
They use specific vocabulary to convey detailed information.
Write complete summaries.
They read with a high rate of accuracy.
And they demonstrate higher level thinking skills in their responses.
Middle school level books include engaging, more complex content, a broad variety of text features, and specific vocabulary. These books have situations appropriate for middle school students. Middle school books are longer and require extended student focus. They have higher quality dialogue, similes, metaphors, and vivid descriptive language. The informational context is supported with a variety of text features, novel vocabulary, and many multisyllabic words. The vocabulary choices have strong impact on the story or informational text. These books are similar to the types of stories and content that students are required to read in middle school.
The DRA has always had the goal of helping teachers find their students' independent reading level. When students read at an independent reading level, it is a safe and manageable reading experience.
Teachers can be confident that students reading text at their independent level can do so with minimal assistance while being actively engaged.
Students develop more proficiency in the skills they have learned or are learning.
Readers reading in their independent zone develop independence, confidence, and enjoy reading.
Readers, as we've said, reading in their independent level must be actively engaged. It's not all clear sailing. There are some words that they must use their decoding skills actively to figure out. They can navigate most unknown words with a combination of phonetic skills and their use of semantic clues from the text.
Many school districts like to establish an independent level baseline for their students in the fall, so they can easily monitor progress during the school year using DRA3 benchmark assessments. We believe that establishing each child's independent level is important for their success as a reader. Knowing a student's independent level helps teachers make effective instructional plans for each student and group students accurately. These students reading at the independent level on grade level texts are ready for instruction in new curricular content. Independent grade level norms have been well established with DRA over 27 years, and they are challenging and fair expectations for students.
Establishing an instructional reading level is also an important benchmark for teachers to know about their students. But as the word instructional implies, it is intended to be the level that the teachers use to engage and scaffold readers while in an instructional setting. When students read passages at their instructional level without assistance, reading demeanor changes. The reader's expression diminishes, rate slows, and accuracy may be problematic. The text is too difficult for students to read alone. Any reader can become a struggling reader in the wrong level text. A text-reader mismatch of any kind of text will cause the reader to struggle. For example, at the end of a first grade DRA level 16, a reader at the instructional level may make up to 15 uncorrected errors. This often means that the flow of the text is interrupted. The reading may be mostly word by word or in short phrases. Because problem-solving unknown words becomes the student's main focus, the overall meaning of the text may be challenging for students to maintain. When this happens, the student's comprehension is negatively affected.
Students that test at the instructional level need focused instruction and may need extended practice on specific skills before they can reach an independent reading level. It takes time for students to acquire and apply the skills they are having difficulty mastering. If these students do not make progress with classroom instruction, they may need further evaluation and assistance beyond the classroom, especially if these students scored some skills at the intervention level. This concentrated support, though, will make a difference. Students that test at the intervention level indicate that they may require Tier 3 intervention if this level is below grade level expectations. When students read text at the advanced level, it is an easy reading experience as you would expect. The words are easy to decode or are sight words. Students make infrequent miscues, have lively expression, and exhibit no signs of anxiety. These students understand the story and can discuss it confidently. Reading stories that are easy has benefits for students. When students read with such ease, they continue to develop automaticity with known words. They read in longer phrases with excellent rate and expression. They develop confidence.
We feel giving all students time for wide reading at their independent or advanced reading levels increases all students' silent reading rate, grows their vocabulary, and gives them opportunities to visit places and consider ideas they would not otherwise. Wide reading helps students become smart, successful people. The DRA3 encourages positive classroom and school district routines. These routines increase every student's likelihood of becoming successful readers who read for a variety of purposes. The DRA3 facilitates a more complete understanding of the reading process.
It encourages student preparation prior to the assessment, including practice on critical reading assessment tasks to help all students perform to the best of their ability.
The DRA3 supports teacher training to increase consistent procedures and reliability.
It provides a consistent and reliable means for collecting data, documenting results, planning instruction, and reporting important DRA3 results to parents and other stakeholders. Our final thoughts on the DRA3 benchmark assessment are that the DRA3 is a research, evidence-based comprehensive tool for assessing and supporting reading growth. It consists of systematic procedures and guided observations.
It includes meticulously leveled text for each developmental level.
It requires all students to complete the same tasks at each level.
Requires specific recording of behaviors and responses for critical analysis of reading performance.
It enables reliable judgments of student performance in fluency and comprehension based on consistent criteria on continuums.
Provides documented evidence to show growth over time and direction for instruction. It has been a pleasure to share our thinking and rationale for the various aspects of the DRA3 benchmark assessment with you this day. In the next segment,
we will share information about the two other assessments that are included in the DRA3, K3, and 4-8 kits. Both of these assessments enable teachers to observe students who are not meeting established benchmarks in either oral reading or comprehension, and to identify the skills and strategies in which they need explicit instruction.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much to both of you for that really deep and thorough review of the DRA3 benchmark assessment. I know I continue to learn things every time I listen to you, both about the DRA3. So I appreciate your time and effort in putting all this together. I want to thank everybody who's watching today, and we'll see you again soon at another webinar.
Thank you.
thank you. It's been our pleasure.